one more clip from New Hampshire as we sort of leave the primary. CNN's Omar Jimenez spoke to a New Hampshire primary voter, and I don't know, this person voted Biden 2020. But I think this is an example of like why Nikki Haley's numbers were inflated and why there were inflated numbers within the New Hampshire primary. So it's really hard to assess where like Republican enthusiasm is and where they fall in this, because there were so many different weird idiosyncrasies about this primary.
But you can say this was the kitchen table set for Nikki Haley if there was going to be a state where she won.
Oh, without a doubt. But she's never going to win. It really is just a question
Agreed.
of like what her showing tells us about the Republican Party, because this isn't the situation where people are like, well, Ted Cruz, I really like him and this and that. And there was, of course, no primaries, I think in like 2020 for Trump, or if there was, we had no one running against him as far as I remember. And it really is just a question of like, what does this tell us about enthusiasm to vote for Trump or enthusiasm to vote against Trump? Here is a New Hampshire primary voter.
Voted for Nikki Haley because I was voting against Donald Trump.
And what propelled you to get to this point?
I'm 74 years old. I've lived in a constitutional democracy all my life. I want to remain that way, and I want my grandchildren to grow up in one, not a dictatorship.
And I'm curious, over the last two elections, have you voted Trump in the past? Was it something where you voted for him, you trusted him, and you were disappointed?
Yes, I voted for him in 2016. I am a registered Republican, and I regretted that vote almost immediately, especially on his trip to Europe where he insulted our allies and praised Putin.
And then in 2020, was that enough for you to change your vote to Joe Biden?
Yes, absolutely.
Why did you feel the need to cross party lines?
Because I want the world to be a safe place. I believe in a strong NATO. My father fought in World War II to defeat fascism, and I want it to remain defeated.
You know, New Hampshire is such a unique place. You all get to actually see all of the candidates come here. In some cases, I'm sure get to meet them and even hear from them directly. What impressed you most about Nikki Haley?
Well, actually, I was a pro Chris Christie person. I lived in New Jersey for years. He was a wonderful governor.
Oh, but
Pro Chris Christie. I mean,
but come on, there's a charm to this kind of northeastern.
well, it's charming, but the problem is we can't glean anything of it because she's representative of about no people.
No, we can't glean anything of it because of the numbers. I mean, the voting percentages. Look, this is the kind of I'm sure she likes Morning Joe these days or something like that. But like, I mean, the gap. This is what's insane is that Nikki Haley only got 25%. Only 25% of the voters that voted for Nikki Haley were Republicans. Like the share of Republicans that came out, Nikki Haley got 25%. Trump got 74%. So, point being is that she is 1 in 4. Or she's not. That's actually not good math, but you know what I mean. She's a minority of the Nikki Haley voter from yesterday.
But my curiosity is with a person like this. If would this person then ultimately vote for Biden in the binary matchup again? And also another question I have is, this is a New Hampshire Republican, but I think in certain other states, this person would potentially just be a reformed now Democrat.
I think so too.
Just in the sense that, like, I have, my parents' friends who, were longtime Reaganite, that type of austere conservatism, nostalgic for a time that didn't exist type of politics, who are just de facto Democrats now. Because they hate Trump so much that they never vote for a guy like that. They think the party is unrecognizable. So I just think it's curious. She obviously identifies, but for the most part, in terms of where she's going, you maybe call that just a Democratic vote.
We're from Jersey.
Yeah.
It's Northeast. This is actually kind of in keeping with a long tradition. I mean, who's the governor of New Hampshire right now? It's a
Sununu,
moderate Republican,
right.
Sununu. Like Mitt Romney in Massachusetts.
Charlie Baker.
Chris Christie in New Jersey. Charlie Baker.
Phil Scott in Vermont.
Yeah, this is something that like actually New England and Northeast voters are kind of Republican voters, and also kind of centrist types are drawn to. So it makes sense that they would like Nikki, which is why I think you can glean some things from this, which is that she would beat Biden, I think, in the general election with the way that she appeals to independents.
And the only thing standing in her way is a Republican primary.
And the only
but that is that. I mean, that's been the dynamic. That's a dynamic in many like congressional races and senatorial races, is that the vast majority of the Republican Party is completely batcrap crazy, and I mean that's not a technical term. But there's lunacy. I mean, they do not believe in the results of the 2020 election. They 50% of them are like, I'm not so into the democracy part as much as I am about like let's have a good economy. We can go on and on with just
levels.
where the general
religiosity.
Of the Republican voter is just so far to the right and out of step with 55% of the American public. I'll tell you, none of this would be there would be zero suspense if we had a national popular vote. There would be zero suspense on any of this. If we had proportional voting in the context of like the Senate, there would be, the only suspense would be how many more senators will Democrats have than Republicans. But we have a system that was designed, it's like sort of the next step away from the sort of like monarchy and feudalism that preceded it. And there was still this sort of like built into the system, like, well, we still have the aristocracy. Maintain, a little bit of like a little bit of weight, extra foot on that scale, as it were. And we have reformed since then to some degree. Used to be, we didn't even get to vote for our senators. Used to be there were no primaries at all. That wasn't that long ago. When I was 6, there was no primaries. It was all just chosen by the Democratic Party, and they would have maybe a couple of like popularity votes. That was it. But we still have a long way to go till we have like even like, never mind how legislators are swayed by money that's spent for or against them. Even on a like 1-to-1, my vote has the same weight as someone whose vote in Wyoming has for a senator, or my vote has the same weight as somebody has in a state that I don't know, Pennsylvania. It's we got a long way to go before we get there.